And welcome back to Groundhog Day on 0.Point Reviews. I am Jeff, joined as always by my co-host Kevin. Kevin, this is pretty much a classic for most people. You ever seen this one before? What do you think of this?
Oh, golly. I'd only seen this once before, and it
Really?
didn't... Yeah. You, actually, I think it was, told me that I should check it out, and I did. And Steve Fodor was telling me what a great flick it is. I didn't find it to be that the first time I watched it.
And this
time it bored me a little bit more than the first. Because I knew it was going to be the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm like, all right, well, I got about 90 minutes to spare doing this.
Yeah.
It's no, for me personally, Groundhog Day just it didn't land with me because there's no killing and there's no monsters in it, and that says more about me than it does the movie.
Yeah, this is more of a traditional comedy. It's directed by Harold Ramis, famous running buddy of Bill Murray for years until they stopped being running buddies. They were friends for a long time. I think, I'm not entirely positive. I want to say this is probably the last movie they did together for a very, very long time, if ever again.
Ever again. This was the last one. This movie is the reason why we never got Ghostbusters 3. Which I know sounds like a bad thing. Like Bill just totally didn't want to do Venkman anymore, didn't want to work with Harold anymore, none of that shit. But really, if that script had come about in the 90s, it probably wouldn't have been any good. Not like how we got Afterlife now. But that aside, they didn't talk to each other for a long time until Harold was actually dying on his deathbed.
Right.
Bill randomly came to visit with him until the end. So, but yeah, this movie was what caused that friendship to end. And if I was a guessing person, I think it's because Bill got injured during the filming of this. And that wasn't the worst part of the injury. He got bit in the hand, I think, by the hedgehog.
The hedgehog.
Wrong movie. Sorry. He got bit in the hands, so they had to go give him rabies shots. And I think for that point in time, there were still like 23 shots that you had to get for rabies. 13, some horrible number.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Never had to contend with that myself, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, I think the long running fan theory out there, and we'll get into the movie. Relax, everybody. But I think the long running theory was that people always looked at Bill and Harold as a comedy duo, and that Bill wasn't funny without Harold Ramis writing or directing him. And I think Bill eventually took exception to that. And this was the final straw for him, thinking, I can do this without him. And then whatever other issues they had just exponentially blew up because of things like that. There was clearly more issues than just that. But that's the popular fan theory, is that he felt like he had a chip on his shoulder to prove that he could do more than just be funny with Harold Ramis behind him. And so clearly there was a falling out. Whatever happened. This is a good movie. I wouldn't say it's great though, and I probably just lost us about 20 more viewers by saying that, but I don't care. I like I said, I do like the movie, but it is not as great as you might think it is. It does have good themes, but ultimately Bill Murray's character of Phil is a complete asshole until basically the last 15 minutes of the movie. And you could say that that's the point, but he shouldn't be an asshole for the whole movie. He should be able to start loosening up at some point, not when he's ultimately failed at trying to get a relationship with Rita and working with everybody else while he's doing that. He's working an angle basically the whole movie until the last 15, 20 minutes of when he basically gives up and he's like, okay, I guess I'm just doing this for the rest of my life. Then and only then Does he kind of change? But there should have been a little bit more progression of that earlier on for us to see, like, there's something there. There's a good person in there somewhere, but he had the full asshole mode going for like 3/4 of the movie, and it just wasn't necessary for that kind of pacing.
Kinda. And I know when they were filming it, when Harold would try to explain scenes to Bill would just tell him, like, just stop explaining. Am I good Phil or am I bad Phil? And I imagine, yeah, like you said, 3/4 of the movie was probably pretty much bad Phil. But even with bad Phil, he wasn't a complete asshole. He wasn't playing Frank Cross by any means. From Scrooge, kids. He will make fun of Andy McDowell and Rita, and makes fun of her. Great deal. But it's also a boyish flirtation with him too.
Yeah, it's kind of a childish, like, immaturity sort of issue he's got going on.
Yeah. And
I'm going to pull your hair, but you're going to end up being my girlfriend. Now, hey, I'm not king shaming. Some girls like the hair pull. I'm just saying.
Anyway.
Casual reminder, everybody, I do not share these clips with Kevin before we record. I actually upload them a moment before we record.
Which is safe because I always upload my shit like a day before, and it's just
but I never look at them.
Which is probably good.
Yeah.
Well, I do less work for editing that way.
That's where I pick up the slack. Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a whole lot to make fun of this movie. This really is a well-made movie. This just isn't Kev's movie.
Yeah, and most comedies tend to be a little difficult to cover for our show, but we're just having fun. We just kind of picked this movie at random out of a hat. So.
Sure. And there are good things to say about this movie. I'm not
absolutely.
I'm not being curmudgeonly and whatnot. I don't think that Bill Murray or Harold Ramis ever made a bad movie, together or apart. Both of them are just genius. I love them both.
I love Stripes. What can I say?
Yeah, Stripes is pretty good. I want to say I've seen that once, maybe twice. Yeah. Actually, I think it's. Oh, you know what it was? Is it's paired with this Blu-ray that I got with Groundhog Day, but that Blu-ray doesn't work, so I've not actually watched the Blu-ray disc of Stripes.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you need a copy, I got an extra copy around here I can send to you.
Oh, I dig it. But I mean, yeah, this point in the 90s, I was still very much into the horror phase. I think I was 13. So like this didn't grab me. What About Bob didn't grab me. It just, none of that was my scene. It's still really not. To sit and watch this, I think you'd have to watch it twice to be able to find things to objectively like about it, or say that was well done, this wasn't.
Especially with like little Easter eggs that play a role later on.
Yeah, like the clock's not working ever in any scene. And it's like, oh, I guess, yeah, you go back and watch that. That is true. The clocks aren't working the whole time.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And to your point, he's got to spend day after day after day being the same day, which I don't know if anyone's ever picked up the gift of the Magi or not. Until he figures out how to be a non-douche. And you said he's working an angle throughout the entire film. And even when he figures out, I give up, I'm just happy to be here with her, and that's the way it is. That's when he gets his wish, and everything kind of starts. You see the time loop break you see the time loop end when the snow starts.
Right.
That was one of the types of things from the movie that I really did enjoy, where you kind of like, oh, okay, that's cute and clever if you're watching or if you're paying attention.
Yeah. I got a kick out of like when you finally got the tip off that something's changing now and we're about to be wrapping up. And I really like the ending. that it kind of does come out of nowhere. I think my ultimate issue is just more like length of time on the movie and how they kind of edited the plot a little bit, paced it out. But you shave off 5-10 minutes. I think it would have been a bit tighter. This is just me being nitpicky, but as far as like how it ended, that was okay by me, because it's ultimately this reliving the day has been like done to death like by other movies, by other TV shows. Like there's a horror movie called Happy Death Day, which they do this in a horror version. I still need to see it myself. They've done 2 of them.
I've
And
heard
then yeah, I've heard they're good too. And they're in my wish list to pick up at some point and watch them. But I'm not paying Scream Factory's price for those right now because they're still like $28
God
with
damn.
with not much for special features from what I remember. But there's also a TV show called Stargate SG-1 in season 4. Any of you Stargate SG-1 fans do know this episode. It's where they repeat the same day over and over again with Richard Dean Anderson and Teal'c, much to a lot of funny antics going on. And fun things happen in that episode. And then ultimately, it has a very good payoff. It shows that you can do a story like this in the span of a 45-minute episode context. Now, if you're going to do it in like a sitcom, I don't see how it can work in like a 20-minute loop. They never did it with like any other show, even Big Bang Theory or anything like that.
Yeah.
Can't be done like that. The sweet spot's probably 45 minutes to like an hour and a half. But the fact that it's been used so many times to varying degrees of success or failure, if you want to call it that, it's at least this movie was out there, and it gave Bill something to sink his teeth into a little bit before he was going to go off and start doing other movies. So ultimately, I think this was good for his career. He may disagree. I don't know, but that's Bill.
I think he is a different person now than he was back then. Clearly, I mean, everybody changes. But from what I'd read, he was going through some things at the time, and this either helped or hurt. I don't know. But like I said, I've never seen him phone anything. Well, wait, no. Garfield.
I'd say the Ghostbusters video game from a few years ago.
Yes, that
sounded
was
like he was on the phone recording his voice acting in that game.
That was the sad part. Like, there was a couple good lines of dialogue, but then after that, you're just kind of like, golly, they're recycling that one line that sounded like you said, he's just phoning it in, literally.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Groundhog Day, this movie, I feel like this is almost like a Mads thing where you're talking about all the other good shit that they've done. The Mono Steel.
Well, yeah, but at least with this movie, there's really good chemistry between all of the cast. And you even have like Clark's boss from Christmas Vacation as the mayor of the town. You just don't recognize him because he shaved his usual looking mustache off. You hear the voice, but you can't see it because the traditional mustache he had was completely shaved off. So he looked like completely clean. And I liked how everybody had a different role every time the day would cycle around and he was trying to do something different. So the ripple effect affected everybody. And so everybody would act a little bit differently every time. But like just seeing like some of the fun cameos and, we got this guy, Ned. Which it has different incarnations throughout it too. Even to the time when Bill Murray hugs him uncomfortably, telling him he misses him, and Ned just runs off like, okay, bye. So there's something to be said about the humor between all the different loops that we see. And one of my favorites is when he's watching Jeopardy and he's doing like the answers for like everything, and everybody's like, yay. So there's joy to be had in the movie. There's good comedy in this movie.
Oh, sure. And like, there's really no bad words, no savage language, no nudity, no drugs, no violence at all. Like, I don't know why. Well, I guess other than the whole manipulation thing.
Well, I was going to say he did kind of do the manipulation thing with the girl that sounds like a chipmunk when she gets excited. Hey, we went to high school. 12th grade homeroom teacher.
Wasn't that you? Oh, that's right. That was. I can't say it's funny because it was a horrible thing that he did, but at the same time, he's in there for God knows how long. That's another part of the fun debate of this movie. What else are you gonna do other than go mad? Like, he has this whole spectrum of sanity to go through and all these different emotions, all these different deeds and all these different types of people that he could be. And he does go through almost each and every single one of them before he figures out how to get out. Well, before it lets him out.
Yeah, that's true. And I just bring that up because, around this time with a lot of these comedies around this particular era, there is some cringy moments and things that don't age well. That's just the way most of these comedies go, dating back from when we were kids. So you watch the movie Porky's, you watch the movie Revenge of the Nerds from the 80s. Hell, we just did Joysticks last week. You can look at that movie and be like, there's a couple cringy things that don't age well right now. But, what they say.
Well, ladies, I never play these games.
We don't play these games anymore.
Speaking of playing games, and Brian Doyle Murray, Buster was his name in this movie. And you're right, he shaved his mustache. He looked weird because he was smiling. And he was like...
And not being an asshole.
Yeah, not being an asshole and truly behind this Pawtucket, or not Pawtucket, that's a Family Guy. Puxatawny Festival, and you're kind of like...
Puxatawny.
Groundhog Day.
Goddamn Groundhog saw another goddamn 2 weeks of winter. Fucker.
Why do people are morons? Okay, that would be the answer. But at least the guy Phil gets one good thing out of this movie, and that's just like blasting everyone as soon as he comes out. Like, look at me! Look at me!
I've got the biggest balls of them all. And he also gets to drive a truck off a cliff.
That's true. Driving angry. There was a joke in there somewhere to be had, but
Yeah, well, it's also fun to note that that's one of those clips that's from the trailer. And there's multiple clips from the trailer that anybody who was around when this was in theaters, whether you even saw the movie or not, you were like, oh, I remember that clip from the trailer because it was a very unique trailer. We can't play it here because they'll strike us. So we ain't doing that. And we're not even monetized yet. So we don't even want that anyway.
They strike us for that too? Damn.
The full trailer. It's a Sony title, so, and they're kind of weird sometimes.
We talked about Craven during our live stream. Anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't look all that great.
Boo on Sony. Okay, so I don't understand the love for this movie. Like, if our viewers could watch in and tell me what they love about this, I don't get it. Because like you said, this is a trope that's been done and done and done and done. Fucking DuckTales have done this. The Mickey Mouse Club has done this. All sorts of different cartoons have done the Gift of the Magi, learning lessons and what's important in life. Even to the point where they kind of spoof it in Loki with the time loop that the TVA does, where he's getting kicked in the nuts every 5 minutes. Like,
see, I haven't even seen Loki, so I wouldn't know that either. But at least they have largely abandoned this trope in quite a few projects these days. Movies, TV shows. I mean, you still will see it here and there, but I don't know. I don't watch any new like Star Trek. I'm sure they're doing something like that in either Star Trek Discovery or Brave New World or whatever that one's called. I don't know. or if they've done it in some of the newer Star Wars. I don't know. Don't care. Well, you just told me about Loki, so it's still out there, but it's not being done to death anymore. Probably for a very good reason. But there are rumors that they're going to do another Happy Death Day, so I really should probably get on that bandwagon and watch that, because a horror version of this, or if there's like some super fan edit of this movie done as like a stalker creepy movie, that actually would be fun to watch. You got to change the music, do a few but you could totally make this a creepy movie.
Yes, I mean, it is kind of a creepy movie when you watch it objectively. Well, every time I try to justify enjoying this, I'm kind of like, I'm encouraging rape. Like, that's not okay.
And that's not okay. So we're not going to keep saying that word, Kevin.
I'm sorry. He manipulates his way through things that he shouldn't have. Sorry. He's not going to know it the next day anyway.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he might. But anyway. Kidding aside, when he figures that out, like, he could do whatever the hell he wants. I love just like going off the rails, doing whatever he wants with the fucking two guys from the bar, driving down the fucking train tracks.
Yeah.
Fist fucking himself in the face with cake. That was fantastic. There was no end to the mischief that he can cause. Robbing the bank, that was pretty funny.
That was excellent. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bill, was it 2 bags I grabbed or 1? Then he drives up in a Mercedes and looking like Clint Eastwood. I'm like, I wonder how much he had to say in like any of this movie, to be honest.
That's where I'm kind of like, why did you pick up a prostitute dressed like the man with no name? I don't understand. Maybe? I don't know.
It's one of those racy ones. I don't know. Or he's trying to repeat Pee Wee Herman's like stunt in a Paul Rubens stunt in the theater. I don't know.
He's a loner. He's a rebel. I get it. But maybe it's just like Americans like movies to watch that coincide with holidays. It tells them what to watch. I don't know. I never. Yeah. I never got this. I never got the enjoyment that people get out of the resolution of this film. It's stupid to me. It takes 10 years for him to figure the fucking shit out.
Oh, is that what the broken down timeline? I've never looked this up. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
At one point they wanted to say it was 10,000 years, and then Harold toned it back and said it was like 10 years.
Okay.
And then the original script starts out with just one of the same day. He's already there. And you're trying to figure out at first how he knows everything that's going to happen. Harold like threw all of that out the window, even though he said that they were going to keep that in. They promised the writer that they were going to keep to the plot. And then as soon as they got the rights, they just tossed it out the window. It's like, okay. Because it was too expensive to film other ways.
Oh, okay.
With different, having all the different scenes to explain what was happening in the original draft would have cost more than what they made.
Huh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin did all the research for the making ofs on this one.
Sometimes I do work. Sometimes. This time was one of the times I did work because there wasn't a whole lot of visual to take. It's all the same day. So, I mean, I can't take the same picture from the same scene over and over again.
No, I can see that.
It just gave me an extra chance to actually learn a little bit about the movie.
Yeah. Now, if you had to relive a day over and over and over again like this, what would you do?
Robbing the bank would be on one of those things.
This is going on YouTube, Kevin.
Probably get all my video games played.
That's true. I do a speed run on some of them.
Yeah, binge watching. I don't know. There's really no limit to what I would do. It's like, let me rephrase that. There is no limit to lazy things that I could do.
Right.
So. I don't know. I live in the middle of nowhere, so like traveling time for the one day would be a huge pain in the ass for me.
That's true.
I don't
It
know.
would depend which day for me, but if I had to relive the same day over and over again, I don't know. It would depend on like where I'm at, what I'm doing. But I would definitely experiment with some things and drive like a Corvette one day, drive a Ferrari the next day, that kind of fun thing. And then ultimately just sit around eating pizza and whatever I could consume, because if it starts all over again and I ain't gaining weight, you bet your ass I'm going to be having some fun that way.
I'd knock an 8-ball of Coke and watch all the Harry Potter movies back to back to back to back to back to back.
I would try and do Lord of the Rings extended editions in one day 7 times in a row just to see if it could be done in a week.
I have watched that in one sitting.
Oh, I have too. That's my man over there.
It's definitely cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember some of it.
And sometimes you don't.
Yeah, most of the time I don't. But I've seen those movies so many times you can just plug in memories.
Oh God, it's like me with like Night at the Museum for some goof ass reason. Like the first time I ever saw that on like it was on like a replay for like HBO or whatever, and I recorded it on my DVR, and I started playing it at like I got home from work and I started playing it from like 5:30, and the next thing I know, it was like 3 a.m, and the movie kept like re-looping, and I just kept watching it over and over and over again. I'm like, this is really funny. And I'm like, how many times have I legitimately sat and watched this movie in a row? The first time I saw, I'm like, this is not normal.
I think that happened to us on New Year's night in 2000. Like me and my friends wound up watching Clockwork Orange 3 times somehow. I don't know.
Wow.
Again, I'm not condoning manipulative actions and whatnot, but that is another movie that I truly enjoy.
Of course.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll 0-point on Clockwork Orange, so let's just we'll get away from that one.
Here, let me open my eyes for that one.
Did you have a day or a particular plan of Phil's that you would have liked or done the way he did?
To be honest, on the good side of things that I would do, I would probably learn the violin like he did. Like he took the opportunity to learn the piano, regardless of for whatever reason, just the fact he did that, and then using that time to like help people. That's probably the best day I would enjoy from him that he did, that I would probably do as well. But this would give me the opportunity to finally learn how to play the violin. I don't care, y'all. That and probably electric guitar, and just jam all the time.
That would be.
I do not have the patience. I do not have a musical bone in my body, but I would make that concerted effort to do something like that. What about you?
I don't have the finger dexterity in my left hand.
That's what she said.
Giggity. I do like the idea of learning to play the piano. That I really dug. I like the fact that he was actually doing the piano playing himself. That was neat.
Right.
God, I don't know as far as the ones that he did. I probably would have done the bank robbery.
I could see that.
Just to say that I did.
And then nobody would ever know, because the next day everything would reset anyway.
Kinda, yeah. Kinda.
That's why I'd go test drive a bunch of like hot rods I've never driven in my life.
Okay, where the movie I think could have gotten better was only focused so much on the what can you do for each and every single one of those days. as far as, and then you only see a little bit later on as far as what affects Phil on that same day, specifically when he gets to the point where he's trying to save that old man's life, and he feeds him, he gives him money, he gives him clothing, he gives him warmth and shelter. Nothing Phil can do each and every single day is going to stop that man from dying. That's such a huge thing that he would have to gone through. That's worth a movie unto itself.
Well, exactly.
Not so much all the shenanigans, which again, the shenanigans are funny. That's what people go to see the comedy for. But I just think there was a more interesting story there that even Bill might have enjoyed doing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, and later on, you would see movies like, say, like Liar, Liar take a similar situation with like the poor homeless guy reaching out for money and ultimately ended up helping him. With Liar, Liar, they had him tell the truth a couple times, and then he would hand him money. The first time he had to tell the truth, he'd go, "I'm afraid you're gonna buy booze with the money."
Booze.
It is blue. I'll just always remember that. But that's where I see like other comedies taking some inspiration from Groundhog Day and just doing something completely different with it, without doing like the repeating day. But you take a kind of a character, a little side thing like that, and you make a little subplot out of it.
Yeah. Well, again, the side characters to this movie, I think, were a little bit more interesting than the main characters in a way.
Well, hell, Chris Elliott.
Yeah, I mean, I got this picture here just to combine the two. When the fucking truck flies off the quarry road,
I love that.
Slams down and explodes. Chris Elliott is a genius, and he was savagely unused or underused in this movie.
He might be okay. Boom.
Nope.
They did good timing with that edit. I would have been like, "Tell me you got that on camera." A call back to our Die Hard episode. Tell me you got that. Well, what's funny with Chris Elliott is I have his Get Smart show on the shelf behind me, and we are looking forward to covering that potentially one day on our show, on our podcast.
Smart. Oh, goddamn Fox. That was another Fox cancellation victim.
Well, it did at least last 2 seasons, though.
Yeah. I loved it. I love him. He's just damn funny. I loved him in God Help Me, Scary Movie 2.
Oh, he was in Scary Movie 2. I never made it past the first one.
Yes. 2's pretty funny. It makes fun of The Haunting, which is still better than The Haunting. But he has a withered hand, and it's very ableist. And everyone is just disgusted at the sight of him and his withered hand. And that's what he refers to as his strong hand. So when someone's like falling out the window and needs help getting up, he's handing them his withered hand. And no one will take the hand. And they choose to like let go of the window and fall instead of grab his withered hand. It's truly a fucked up film. You would enjoy it. Bang! Bing!
Right on. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of him. The only one I don't think I ever really liked was like Cabin Boy.
I never saw that.
Yeah, it was okay, but I wouldn't say it was like one of his better performances. I just was grateful to see him play a normal character in a normal movie like Groundhog Day, when I would have liked to have seen his comedic chops being used a little bit more in Groundhog Day. But for what they did with him, there was enough there. But, you know, he had a good chemistry with Andy and Bill. So it felt like there was a good connection between the three of them. I just wish there was a little bit more for him, even though he was trying to hook up with like the other girl at the end and she wanted nothing to do with him. And then he gets up on stage to do the dating guy bidding scene. And he's just trying to strut around and for 2 bits sold
25 cents. All right. That was demoralizing.
Well, and Rita only paid $333.89 for Bill Murray. I am wondering, Kevin, would you value yourself at $333.89 to go to Andy McDowell?
I think that would be a generous donation to the charity. That would be great. But honestly, I'd say I'm a $40 whore. I'm a $40 whore. 300's really generous.
People are morons.
But I mean, this festival, I don't know how long the groundhog thing has been around. I don't see why it's still enjoyed, why it's a festival. Like, I don't understand it. Clearly,
you mean like even today? Or
yeah, like in real life, not just the movie itself, but it's like,
yeah.
Okay, so I mean, yes, I made a joke about it here where they really do this. Like, they reenacted every single thing that they do, as far as like knocking on the door 3 times, listening to it, and then reading off the scroll what it just said. Why is this a thing? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know.
People in Flint, Michigan still need clean drinking water, not to pay for a fucking groundhog festival in like several different cities. It's stupid. I don't think it's smart, fun, or anything else.
Well, don't drive angry. Don't drive angry. But you know, to the town's credit, it's probably their one claim to fame, and they go all in on it. Like, I do not begrudge small towns for doing something like that, and just if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Hell, there's even there's places like that in Wisconsin where I used to live. There's places like that around here in Arizona. I'm sure there's places around there up in Oregon like that too, Kevin.
Yeah, I know. Well, shit, Hollister, where I grew up, they have a festival, or had a festival every year on 4th of July, where they would invite the Hells Angels to come and retake over the town like they did way back whenever.
Huh.
Yeah. And when they first started doing that, my dad was a police officer, and they invited the Hells Angels and the Gypsy Jokers, which are 2 clashing gangs. And so the cops were just ready for like savagery in the streets, like there was, again, back whenever they originally took over Hollister. And as it turned out, all the bikers were super cool. Everyone had a good time drinking, showing off their bikes, whatever else. The people in the town were all belligerently drunk, jumping out in front of the fucking motorcycles when they were drag racing. God, I wish I was joking. Like, it's shameful. And then it lasted for like 20 fucking years almost.
People are morons.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did that clip now.
And like, if I was one of the Hells Angels, I would have just been like, you know what? We'll skip this run. We'll go someplace else this year. Those people are fucking stupid.
We'll go to take over a real town, not this like wannabe town.
We're going to Gilroy, bitches.
We hardcore.
It's the next town over. It's basically Springfield and Shelbyville is basically what that is.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense now.
It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Oh, that's funny.
So again, maybe it's because I'm not into like festivals and just
I wouldn't say I'm terribly
gatherings.
into them either.
Holidays, not so much, except for Halloween, because that's fucking awesome. Yep. That's just the day for me to have an excuse to let my freak flag fly. But this kind of stuff, I don't get it. I don't get why it makes so much money. I don't get why people enjoy it so much. Like, this is not even National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is not my kind of movie, but I get the hype on that flick. It truly is that fucking funny. I just don't care that for it that much, but it is that funny. This is funny. It's not that funny. Yeah,
this is a likable film. It's not a lovable film, in my opinion. I like it just fine, but there's things I don't find funny about it that other people just rave about. And it's like, well, I don't quite get why you're into why you think Chris Elliott steals the movie. He really doesn't. He doesn't really have any comedic moments in it all that much. And you really love the relationship between Rita and, Phil, but they really don't. They have sweet moments, but they really don't really click until the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, just to say like this movie is like funny from minute 1 to the very last minute, that's just not the case. This movie is trying to give you, it's more of a drama comedy.
Yes.
Dramedy.
A dramedy.
Take your Dramamine.
Without the sad song in the middle or towards the middle of the third act, it's going to make everything okay by the end of the song.
Hell,
Does
this
not
movie didn't have
that.
much of a soundtrack to begin with. I got you, babe.
The best I can come up with was Beavis and Butthead dressed up as Sonny and Cher.
That's great.
I like that song. So it's like,
oh, I do too.
Really didn't ruin it for me. It was not as what's the word I'm looking for? Mentally damaging as say 1408, where you hear the Carpenters over and over and over.
Oh, yeah, well, that one beats you into submission with that movie. Now, I know for some people, I remember this back in the day where they felt like the song was used way too much and it ruined it for them, but I never really experienced that with this movie. So I like the song just fine too. Sonny and Cher were dope.
Yeah, well, Cher was. Sonny did a lot of dope. Oh, now I've got George of the Jungle stuck in my head. Oh, love that song. Anyway.
There you go.
I'm going to swerve away from the Sonny Bono joke there.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to go skiing down that slope.
Nope. Very slippery slope. Very slippery.
Very slippery. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate up a hill, including my co-host.
My co-host. The snow in this, I don't know how many takes it took them to do, but I know that secretly Harold caused a fight amongst the kids and Bill when they were getting into the snowball tournament. Like Harold really encouraged him to just chuck it as hard as he could because he knew that would get the reaction from Bill, not out of anger, but out of playfulness. Like he knew Bill that way. Like that would spur that giant kid out of him and get him to start playing back with the kids that much harder. And that's one of the things that I do appreciate about this flick. Like there is a little bit of sincerity there that you can get from Bill. And it's nice
I would agree with that. Like there's times you really feel like it looks like he's having fun with this film. Just for whatever reason, it just didn't pull all the way through the movie. You just felt it from time to time.
Because the fucking thing bit him in the hand, and then he had to have like 23 fucking shots to the abdomen. That's you stop having fun after that.
Yeah, he just needed a couple of shots of tequila. Just get the ball rolling. Let's go.
Yeah, just pour it on the fucking wound. It'll clean it.
Especially with some salt and a lime. I'm kidding.
I gotta go. I got some shit to do now.
I gotta go watch the Cubs not win a World Series until 2000 something or other.
Apparently, this was this filmed in Chicago? Is that what it was?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Don't think it was actually in Puxatawny, but they did a pretty good job as far as like recreating everything.
Yeah,
including Gobbler's Knob up there. I've never heard of Gobbler's Knob, but
well, you have now.
I have heard of a knob gobbler. I didn't know if this was like a dyslexic Dutch thing or what.
Or a pie eating contest. Don't know. Or they were gobbling somebody's knob. They had a glory hole somewhere around in there.
Globba, globba, globba. I was explaining those to my wife the other day.
That probably didn't go over well.
No, well, it kind of made her laugh, which I didn't expect because I was telling her about the episodes that we did for Drawn Together and how God was in the confessional. You just see the dick come in and goes, "You're a funny looking fella. What's your name?"
Oh my God. And Kevin with a 3-pointer on that one.
What's your name?
Oh my god. Yeah, flick that thing, boy. Yeah, we crazy on this show.
I've got to use that for the background for next week's Live Wire, Dead Wire Live. Bing! Bing! I don't. What is Bing? Was that like supposed to be like some high school thing of theirs?
I don't. It seemed to be whenever he was like Bazinga, or yeah, you know what I'm talking about, or you're getting there, you got it. I don't know. I got a kick out of Ned quite a bit, so I didn't mind too much like him like at all. Just his interactions with Bill, like it seemed like those two were having some fun with each other. And we were talking about sincerity just a minute ago, and that felt like another one of those sincere moments. It definitely looked like Bill and him liked working together, and you could feel that through the screen. Whereas with some of the other actors, at times, felt like, all right, let's get through this scene and get on to something else.
You talking about inside of the bed and breakfast?
Yeah, a couple times.
I
don't think he like hated anybody. It just felt like he'd rather get to another scene or finish the movie at that point.
Maybe so. Yeah, that could have been like towards the end of filming or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, he might have been directed to be like that. Who knows? And Bill's a decent actor, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was either of that. But sometimes you can feel like the exhaustion of the actors at certain points of the movie.
Yeah, I can respect that. It's like, even though you are putting out this craft, you still see within the person's eyes like exhaustion, annoyance, human emotions.
Yeah. Everybody feels something at some point or another, and anybody can get tired at any given time and just walk through and phone it in, whatever they got to do just to get the job done.
Playing out in the snow for God knows how many hours. I couldn't do that. Like, I would suck at acting. I don't do cold. I don't do cold wet. All the horrible stories that Dana told us about, like liquid blood. Nope.
Yeah, this isn't a Sam Raimi flick with Bruce where he could torture Bruce the whole movie, and Bruce would take it. So,
it's none of anyone else's business what happened in this film, behind the scenes. I mean, But golly gee whiz, would it be interesting to know? And what would have things been like? Could someone go back and affect things to where it's like, this movie didn't fuck up that friendship?
Yeah, like if the movie never got made, who knows what could have happened or what could have happened afterwards.
Bill was actually the second choice. The studios wanted Tom Hanks, and Harold said,
God, no,
because he was too nice.
At that time, maybe.
Yeah, I would say so, because Big came out in '88, I think. Yep. And was Apollo 13 out at that point?
Oh, I'm a bad Tom Hanks fan.
Either that or Forrest Gump had just come out. And so it's like his good guy image was like out there. So I don't know. And I'd say the same thing would have been this. No, Michael Keaton would have been able to do this shit with his fucking eyes closed.
Oh, he did a movie called Multiplicity, which was in and of itself a weird movie.
That's what I've heard. Yep. Where he replicates himself bajillions of times.
Yep. Steve. The three Steves. Yeah, one of them literally calls himself Steve. They all love pizza.
That's fair. Speaking of Steve, I almost suggested we should have had Steve Fodor on this episode with us, since he's the one that does like this movie so much.
Steve, you are always welcome on with us. You know that, buddy.
But we're not doing this movie again. No.
Nope, you had your chance.
Yeah.
You could be on any of the other shows or another movie.
I really want to repeat some of the nice things that he said about this, as far as like a movie of someone learning how to evolve and
Which
be a
is
better
true.
person. Yeah, it just takes 10 years.
Well, that's where I go
things
back
he
to where
does-
the editing of the movie could have made that a little bit clearer. And if they had started to introduce that kind of process earlier on, you didn't have to show him being nice to anybody. You could have shown him having a pause before doing something where it actually showed he's thinking about what he was about to do and he still went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah. And I kind of just lost myself there. This flick kind of, by the middle of the film, you're ready for it to end. Like after you've already seen 2 days worth, you're already in the middle of the film. And you're just kind of like, well, okay, what's next? And it kept dragging on for me in that second half. And it's just, I don't know if it was the quality of what they were doing, to your point, if it was the pacing or the editing. I just don't know what it was, but it just dragged on and on and on for me. Like,
well, to put it in kind of, any of our wrestling fans, buddies out there, will know what I say. I think they did a false finish on this that wasn't necessary, because they brought him up to the point with him and Rita where they were going to hook up. And it seemed sweet at the moment, even though we know he was largely setting up and playing the field and playing the game with her. But ultimately it fell apart. Then the whole movie kind of like dropped like a little too hard, because then you had to build it right back on up to get the crescendo at the very end of them actually getting together. And the movie felt like it was fighting against itself to get back up there. And that's where I argue there's some problem with the editing and the pacing. Whoever thought that in the third act, I think they could have done that a little bit differently, so it didn't feel like he was like, so it wasn't so completely devastating of a hit for him. And then you see the further descent. I know it's important to the movie, but I think that could have been done a little bit differently to where it didn't feel like you just dropped your main lead of this movie from like, I know, dickbag level to like 0. And now you got to build him back up to like a solid at least 80%, even higher than he was. He's got to restore a lot of faith in the audience and the people around him in the movie. And trying to accomplish that with like 30 minutes left, it's not easy to do. And this is where I would argue they couldn't quite pull it off. That's why I don't love this movie. I like it. The story's good, but that's where I say there was a false finish with that wasn't really necessary. But if they were going to do it, they should have done it a little differently, to where she's not in the bedroom, slaps him, calls him a complete fucking waste of time, and she feels completely abused by the whole situation. And then all you get for the next few minutes is him getting slapped every time. It might have been better just to, he had that one time happen, and then it never gets further than that ever again. No more. You don't get like the next 2 minutes of him getting slapped and getting dropped again and getting his heart broken over and over and over again. Like, I don't think you needed, like, I felt like it was a little too much for that character. But it comes to how much you made him an asshole, how much you want to bring him down to his knees and to the ground before you build him back up for this big character, evolution. That's what I kind of feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, clearly the first time that he gets Rita in the room with him, he has manipulated that scene quite a bit.
Yes.
But then you get to that point where it's like, yay, they're together. He's been interested in her. Is sincere in his feelings for her.
But she seems sincerely interested in him too. She's just wanting to take it a little slow.
Right. And then they drop you for 20 minutes at least with his depression phase.
Yep.
And then it gets you right back to that point that you were at before the depression phase. So it's like, it really takes you out of the movie. That the depression should have happened before he got his interest in Rita. Have that be what brought him out of the depression, which eventually it is, but
Right.
I guess they kind of put it in there when it didn't need to be. It was here, drops, and then comes back. But unfortunately, there's just a big gap of time.
Right. So, I mean, they probably thought this was the best way to do the movie at the time. If they had the chance for like, of hindsight, like most of us these days, we look back on just about every movie we like or don't like, and we're like, hey, they could have done this, they could have done that. Who knows? Probably they thought of this and they felt like that was just not the direction they wanted the movie to go or whatever. Like, this is the movie we got, and this is what we are working with, and it's just how it went. It just kind of makes you wonder if, like, if they had thought about it, or if they had had a little more time with the script, if they could have figured out the weirdness about the last third of the movie.
Kind of, yes. I don't know. You know what even would have been fun to watch is not him trying to find ways to destroy things, fuck things, or whatever else. Is just have days where he's like farting around, teasing, playing pranks. There was a lot more other things.
Pranks.
For the most part, yeah. Like just truly amusing himself because he knows that there's nothing else to do.
Right.
Rather than trying to commit suicide in every single way possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. After jumping off a building, getting hit by a car, you're just kind of like, is he really going to try everything? Like, come on.
Apparently
now.
so. He's got to grab the toaster from downstairs in the B&B, which still had toast in it.
Still had toast in it.
Well, soggy toast.
The clock radio was right there. You just toss it in. Now, speaking of the clock radio, was that also his brother working as the DJ?
I don't know.
It sounded like it.
It's Groundhog Day!
Maybe.
Oh, small towns.
Yeah, small towns and their little radio stations. I did like the note about how on the first time that they repeated, he's like, "Great job, guys! You're replaying the same tape from yesterday." That was pretty funny for me.
Yeah, because he's Bill can be a tremendous douche in movies. Like he is in
He's
this
really
to a
good
certain
at it.
degree. But Scrooged and Frank Cross is just, he's amazingly heartless in that.
He's even better in those movies, in my opinion, than this one. I do not think this is his best movie. That'd probably be my last big question I'd have for you is, do you think this is one of his better movies, or do you think it's just kind of in the middle? I wouldn't say this is a bad movie, and it's definitely not one of his worst movies. I've seen some bad movies from Bill Murray.
I don't think that this is his best or worst. It is somewhere towards the middle. Caddyshack was extremely hysterical, of course, but that wasn't him
Absolutely
doing a wonderful performance as he does later on in life, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where I would put this. Again, it's not Caddyshack to me. It's not as funny as Caddyshack. And
it's not even a rom-com.
No, it's
even though
not.
It tries to be at times.
I enjoy Garfield a little bit more in certain areas. Not a whole lot, but in certain areas of this film.
I could see that.
There's no Bing, but Ned is in Garfield still. He's the bad guy.
Last one.
There's this scene in the movie where it's like they try to put a fucking shock collar on Odie, and everyone's like, "Oh, but that's inhumane." I'm thinking to myself,
Yeah.
You've never had a 150-pound dog, have you? No, doesn't cut it. Golly, I don't know. This is not a movie that I would purchase by choice and want to go watch. It's not something I would turn on Groundhog Day to watch. I don't recognize Groundhog Day in general. So this is going to get a pass for me on any other rewatches, unless someone wants us to do it again.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's okay.
On
I like
another
the
show,
movie.
not ours.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I like the movie. I don't love it. I haven't watched it in at least in a few years, but it's a decent movie. I don't know if it's worthy being in a collection or not. I'll let you as the audience decide that. That's totally your call, your opinion. We're just two guys having fun with a review. Kevin, got anything else for him before we sign off?
I don't know, other than burn yourself, but I didn't have a recording of it.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate your time with us on this Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray. And thank you, and we'll see you all next time. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.